St. Magdalena was born in 1895 on November 22/December 5th, the day after the feast of the entry of the Mother of God into the temple, according to the old calendar, into a family of believers from the village of Skubik. Her father, Milenko Ilic, was of Serbian descent, and her mother, Milka, was a Romanian from the old Catalinici family from Transylvania. At her baptism, performed on December 3 the 16th, she received the name Magdalena, a sign of her calling to a life of humility and service. From early childhood, she showed a love for prayer and the church. Although in those days girls were not encouraged to study, she learned to read, receiving from God the gift of wisdom and unwavering faith. Marriage and widowhood, the beginning of sacrifice. At the age of 19, on the day of the reception of the Lord, February 2nd, 1914, she got married in the neighboring Romanian village of Mălainița. But the will of God was different. Her husband, Milos, died in World War I, leaving her a widow with a small child. Then, St. Magdalena strengthened her faith, always saying, "God sees," a word that became a seal on her soul. The fight for faith in times of persecution. During the Bulgarian occupation, 1915 to 1918, priests were arrested and killed, leaving the church in Skubik without shepherds. At that time, St. Magdalena, by the grace of Christ, served at the church, keeping the flame of faith alive. In times of spiritual darkness, when many strayed to witches due to the incomprehensible language of the services, she, being well versed in both Romanian and Serbian, became a bridge between peoples and a comfort for the faithful. In this way, she became both a bridge between earth and heaven and a chosen one of God, as well as an intercessor at the heavenly throne. Through frosts, storms, and heat, she tirelessly walked 5 kilometers to the church to read and sing at services. The bishops, seeing her humility and zeal, allowed her to enter the altar, something unusual for women in those times. At a time when Romanians in the Timok Valley did not have calendars, she was the voice that reminded them of the feasts and the order of the church. Thus, as the elder Teta Vojakovici, 89 years old, says, she drew the world to God. Ascetic life and advice to the people. Living like a nun in the world, she always fasted, prayed at night, and guided people toward God's law. Many did not know what the feasts or fasting periods were, but she gently explained them, always saying, "God sees." When she was tending the sheep, she would quote from the holy books, and the place where she prayed was later chosen for the building of a monastery, a sign that God had accepted her dedication. The village elders called her the one who advises, that is, the one who gives advice. She was called by her fellow villagers the old woman who sang with the priests because of her ecclesiastical role. She loved to read from the writings of the Holy Fathers, especially from St. Isaac the Syrian, and prayer was never absent from her lips. Gentle, quiet, and humble, Mother Magdalena never confronted anyone, never argued with anyone, confesses Binka Alui Vasa, 81 years old. When it came to meanness or harsh words, she would only answer, "Vide Bog," God sees. She called herself a simple nun, although she never formally entered monasticism. But she lived like a nun in the middle of the world with a lot of work, prayer, good advice, and a life of sacrifice. She had a gentle voice, and what she said to you stayed in your soul. Says Zivoin Didik of Gigi, departure to heaven and testimonies of her holiness. In her old age, due to an illness, she could no longer walk the 5-6 kilometers to the church. Then, 6 months before her death, she moved to Negotin so that she could attend services until her last breath. On October 15th, 1962, old style, October 2nd, with a candle in her hand and making the sign of the cross until the last moment, St. Magdalena passed to the Lord. Her face lit up as if she had seen Christ coming for her soul. The testimony of an 85-year-old woman, Baba Mitra, confirms the peaceful passing of the holy eldress. The funeral service was held in the cathedral in Negotin with many priests and monks, and the people testified. She was a saint. No one like her has ever been born. Her relics are today in the church of the Mălainița monastery, being venerated with piety by Romanian and Serbian believers. Miracles and signs after death. A monastery was built on the place where she used to herd sheep and pray, and the children who hid in the bushes to see her going to church were left with the memory of her incessant prayers. She dreamed that she was flying to Jerusalem, and God fulfilled her wish, taking her with his spirit to the tomb of the Savior. Father Boyan Alexandrovich, a witness to the spiritual rebirth of the Romanians from Tima, sees Mother Magdalena as a chosen vessel of God who sanctified the place through her life. Communism and assimilation wanted to forget her, but God ordained that a monastery be built on the spot where she lived, the first Romanian one in almost 200 years. Many people who know her today come to her grave, ask for prayers, and confess that they go home refreshed. God sees, says the Father. She was canonized as a saint by the Holy Synod of the Romanian Orthodox Church in its meeting of July 1st, 2025, with the title Saint Magdalena of Mălainița and the feast day on October 15th.